Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, August 28th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Now, if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check that out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Sunday, August 28th. First up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Julio Urias and Edward Cabrera on the mound for this one. Edward Cabrera is pitching really well in the major league level right now. In his last 4 starts, he hasn't given up a single earned run, but the Dodgers are just a different animal this season. They're hitting righties, they're hitting lefties, they're hitting really strong pitchers as well. And I do think that, they've already shown they can get to Sandy Alcantara, they can get to Corbin Burns. I do think they'll be able to score a few runs on Edward Cabrera, who's had some control issues here and there. He's still striking out plenty of batters, but giving up at least 3 walks in 3 of his last 5 outings. And on the other side, I just don't love this Miami offense against Julio Urias, who we know the Marlins are not hitting left-handed pitching at all this season. Urias, one of the better lefties in the National League. So I just don't think the Marlins offense puts up too many runs in this game. And because of that, I like the Dodgers here on the run line. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Washington Nationals. 2 lefties on the mound in this one, Nick Lodolo and Patrick Corbin. Now, Patrick Corbin, I think he's an auto fade for me right now. He's got a 4-17 record with that 6.81 ERA. The Nationals lose most of the games that he's pitched in this year. Even though last start wasn't the worst for him, he went 5 1/3, giving up only 2 runs. He still gave up a home run. He still gave up 9 base hits. He's not striking out many batters. And although the Cincinnati Reds don't have a fantastic offense by any means, I still trust Nick Lodolo on the other side a lot more. And I would say I trust the Reds offense more than the Nationals right now. Even though the Nationals bullpen has been strong in the last month or so, I still think Cincinnati has the edge here, especially in the first 6 innings of this game. So I like the Cincinnati Reds in the first 5 innings, but I also like them in the full game money line. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Roansy Contreras and Noah Syndergaard are your projected starters. I think the Pirates can get 5 solid innings from Roansy Contreras in this game. He gave him 7 sharp innings against the Braves last time out, only giving up 2 earned runs with 5 strikeouts, as he's starting to improve his game quite a bit. And when you look on the other side, Noah Syndergaard, although he's not the same power pitcher that struck out double-digit batters per 9 when he was a member of the Mets, he's still a solid arm that the Phillies now have in their rotation, and I thought he was a good pickup by them, and he's got a 3.77 ERA now overall this year. He's pitching well with this new team, 3 straight quality outings against the Marlins and Reds twice. Now, those lineups aren't very good, but neither are the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're ranked 29th in both team OPS and isolated power against those righties in the last month, so I don't think they do much against Syndergaard here. I think Contreras has a solid outing. Don't love this Pirates bullpen, but I still think it's good enough to keep this game under the total. I'm going to take the under in this Phillies-Pirates game. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Corey Kluber and Nick Pivetta on the mound. Pretty similar starting pitchers, in my opinion. They've had their ups and downs, but right now, both of their ERAs right around 4.2. Kluber right at 4.2, and on the road, a 4.28 ERA. His last start against the Angels was very good, 6 innings, 1 earned run. Previous start against the Yankees, also really good, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. He had 8 strikeouts in that ball game. So, when he's not facing the Baltimore Orioles, the team that he struggled against the most this season, he's actually had a pretty good year overall in 2022. Again, not the same kind of pitcher, kind of similar to Syndergaard after his injury and after moving a couple teams. Not the same pitcher we've seen before, but still a good option for the Rays in their rotation. I think he's the better option here than compared to Nick Pivetta, who struggled mightily against this Rays lineup earlier in the season. And now his ERA against Tampa Bay overall this year, 11.12, because in 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, and 2 walks allowed, only 4 strikeouts. I think the Rays can get to Pivetta again. I like Corey Kluber on the mound. Give me the Rays here on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Tucker Davidson and Ross Stripling are the projected starters. Now, we saw the Angels stun the Blue Jays earlier in this series, a 12-0 victory, where the Blue Jays were huge favorites, I think minus 180, so a big upset there, but I don't think that's going to be the case in this game. Although Tucker Davidson hasn't been too bad in his last 2 starts, he's still not striking out a lot of guys. He's still giving up a home run in each of his last 3 outings. He's still walking a ton of batters, allowing 9 walks in his last 3 starts combined. I can't trust him here on the road against the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays lineup hasn't been the best against lefties, but I still think they'll be able to get the Davidson for a few runs here. And Ross Stripling has been kind of a surprise, under-the-radar starting pitcher for the Blue Jays and in the league this season, a 2.84 ERA. He doesn't have a ton of innings under his belt, only 95 innings overall this season, but only 6 home runs allowed, 16 walks, so keeps the ball on the ground, doesn't give out a lot of free passes, only 2 walks in his last 5 starts combined. And, he's been pitching really well overall. I think he's going to give the Blue Jays another strong performance here. 5-6 innings is usually his max. He's gone 7 innings a couple times this season, but I think he gives the Blue Jays a quality start. I like the Blue Jays here on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. In our next game, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the New York Mets. German Marquez and Max Scherzer are the projected starters. This is a tough game for me. I don't think there's a ton of value in this game, and I think that's the case for a lot of these games on Sunday and really this weekend in general. There's so many big favorites, so you can lay the run line and get a little bit of better price with these big favorites, but even still, you're laying negative odds with laying 1.5 runs, so just not my favorite card in general, but I'm going to lean towards the New York Mets on the run line. Max Scherzer hasn't been his best in his last few outings, but you got to take a look at who he's faced, the Atlanta Braves and the New York Yankees, and that was when the Yankees started to get going again against those right-handed pitchers. They struggled for quite some time, but then they sharpened up, won those games against the Mets. Now their offense looks great in Oakland, so I don't think that Scherzer will continue to pitch that poorly. When you look at the Colorado Rockies in the last month, they're 20th in isolated power in team OPS against righties on the road, and I think that's the big thing. Their offense really drops off when they're facing really a righty or lefty, but especially a right-handed pitcher away from Coors Field. I don't love their offense. I don't really want to back it here against Scherzer. And, German Marquez has had better numbers on the road this season, like most Colorado Rockies pitchers do, but he still hasn't been good enough. He's not striking out nearly as many batters as he was a few seasons ago. He's still giving up a good amount of home runs, at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5. So I don't really trust him against a really solid Mets lineup. So I'm going to take the New York Mets here, lay the 1.5, but like I said, not a great game just based on value. Next up, we see Dylan Cease and the Chicago White Sox taking on Zach Davies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, I've been a big fan of Dylan Cease's game this year. He's been pitching very well, 2.27 ERA overall, which is 5th in baseball, 5th in strikeouts with 182 Ks in 139 innings. However, he's just not pitching the same way in his last few starts against the Astros and Orioles. I know the Diamondbacks may not have as strong a lineup as those two teams, but his strikeout numbers are down. He's only had 8 Ks in his last 10 1/3. He's walked 6 batters in that stretch, giving up at least 1 home run in each of those games, 7 earned runs combined in those 2 starts. So I just don't really want to trust him at this kind of price when you see how the White Sox have really underperformed. I do believe that they're getting a little bit too far back in those wild card standings. The season may be over. Obviously, there's still plenty of games to go, so miracles can happen. But right now, this White Sox team, right at 500, I don't think they have much of a chance. I think the Diamondbacks are playing as the role of spoiler right now, and I think they're enjoying doing that quite a bit. We saw them take the first game in this series in a kind of a surprising game. But, this D-backs offense behind Zach Davies has been pitching really well, even though it's not necessarily the most sustainable type of pitching. He's not really striking out a ton of guys, still giving up a couple home runs here and there. But overall, his last start, 5 2/3 innings, 1 earned run. Previous start, 5 innings, 1 earned run. He's given the D-backs solid innings, not giving up a lot of runs, and winning some games. The last 4 games that Davies has started in, the D-backs have won 3 of those 4, including 2 road games against the Giants and Royals. Give me the Arizona Diamondbacks here, plus the 1.5 runs. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game that stays within that 1 run. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Houston Astros. Austin Voth and Justin Verlander are your starters. I'm going to take the under through the first 5 innings of this one. Justin Verlander coming off one of the best starts you're going to see him have in his career, and here he is at age 39. 6 innings, no hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts. Unbelievable start from him. It was only an error in that game that kept him from having a chance at a perfect game, but his pitch count got a little bit too high too early. He was at 91 pitches through 6 innings, so he wasn't able to go for that no-hitter, but still, he's been pitching so well this year overall. One of the best seasons he's had in his career, and he's, like I said, age 39, so unbelievable. Number 1 in WHIP this year, number 1 ERA, 15th in strikeouts, so I think he pitches well against the Orioles. On the other side, Austin Voth pitching really well as a starting pitcher with his new team. As a reliever, he just didn't have the same results, but as a starter, he's given him 5-6 innings every start, and pretty good innings as well. I think he has a good start in this game as well. Give me the under through the first 5 innings. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm losing my voice again, guys, so bear with me as I try to get through these games. But Adrian Sampson and Eric Lauer are your projected starters. This is a tough game for me. Adrian Sampson, he's pitched against the Brewers just once this season. That was in Milwaukee, and it wasn't too bad of an outing. When you look at the numbers overall, 5 2/3 innings. He had 5 strikeouts, no 1 earned run. It was 1 home run. No walks allowed, though, and it was a 2-1 Cubs win. But on the other side, Eric Lauer's pitched really well against the Chicago Cubs lineup himself. This season, he's faced them quite a few times already this year. And he's got a 2.12 ERA through 17 innings of work with 26 strikeouts. 3 home runs allowed. We know that Lauer is definitely susceptible to the home run ball, but a 197 opponent's batting average against Chicago. So 2 pitchers that are pitching pretty well against the opposition. I do trust the Milwaukee Brewers lineup a lot more than Chicago, especially when the Cubs are facing a lefty. They don't really have the best results, and as you can see, Lauer's had 17 sharp innings against them this year. And on the other side, I also don't really trust the Chicago Cubs bullpen. I think that's the big thing. I know it was good enough in that first game of the series in extra innings, but going forward, I still think this is one of the weaker bullpens in baseball, especially when they lost a few guys at the trade deadline. I think the Brewers have the much better pen. I think their lineup is also more trustworthy, and I also think Eric Lauer is the better starter. So for those reasons, I'm going to take the Milwaukee Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Kansas City Royals. Sean Manaea and Jonathan Heasley are your projected starters. We saw the first game of this series, 13-5 final score. It was a 6-0 lead for the Padres to start the game. They scored those runs in the first 3 innings, and then the Royals scored 5 unanswered, and I think before the 4th inning ended, it was 6-5 San Diego. It soared over the total, and then the Padres just went on a scoring spree themselves and hit a few home runs, and it was a very high-scoring game. Obviously, the games went way over the total. I think this game goes over the total as well. Sean Manaea, I'm just not really in love with what I'm seeing with this game. He's given up a lot of home runs this year now. He's 22 home runs allowed in 130 innings. He does have those 132 strikeouts, but this Kansas City Royals offense has been competitive against lefties this year, or at least in the last 30 days. And on the other side, Jonathan Heasley, I cannot trust him whatsoever. A 1-7 record with that ERA above 5, even higher ERA at 5.45 at home this season. Gives up a ton of walks and home runs. Doesn't strike out many batters. I think the Padres get to him for quite a few runs in this game. I'm going to take the over in this Padres-Royals game. In our next game, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the San Francisco Giants. Jacob Junis and Aaron Sanchez are your starters. Aaron Sanchez is not a starting pitcher that I look to back very often, but I will say his first 2 starts with his new team, not too bad at all. 9 innings, 4 earned runs combined against the Tigers and Astros, so a 4 ERA, 12 strikeouts, no home runs allowed, so he's striking out batters, limiting walks, not giving up home runs. That's what you like to see from a starting pitcher, and you're facing a team here that has a top 15 highest strikeout rate in the league in the last 30 days against righties. They're 27th, the San Francisco Giants are, in team OPS with a 641 team OPS against righties in the last month. They're not doing much of anything with runners in scoring position against those right-handed pitchers, so I don't really like the Giants' offense in this game. Jacob Junis hasn't been bad on the mound, but starting to give up those home runs, and that's where we've seen Junis struggle the most in his career is the home run ball. He's given up 3 in his last 2 starts, including 2 in his most recent outing, so I don't trust Junis enough here to take the Giants. I'm going to take the Minnesota Twins here on the money line. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Drew Hutchinson for the Tigers here, but no official starter for the Rangers quite yet. I do see Kohei Arihara listed on a few websites, so he very well may be the starter right now. And he hasn't pitched too poorly for the Rangers thus far. He's got 11 2/3 innings, giving up only 3 earned runs with 9 strikeouts. And his last start, he went 6 innings, a shutout ball against the Minnesota Twins. That was a 7-0 Rangers win. And I do like the offense here for Texas against Drew Hutchinson. Not a starter that I look to back very often. Even though his last start wasn't miserable against the Giants, he went 5 innings, only giving up 1 earned run. He was giving up plenty of hard hit balls, and that's really been the case for him all season. The average exit velocity, hard hit percentage, barrel percentage, not very good for Hutchinson. He doesn't strike out many batters, so very susceptible to the home run ball. And just because he hasn't given up any home runs quite yet this year, I still think that home runs per 9 rating will continue to rise as the season continues. And I like the Texas Rangers to score about 3-4 runs on him early on. And I like the Rangers here on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Seattle Mariners. Aaron Savale and Robbie Ray are the starting pitchers, and I think this is going to be a pretty good pitching matchup. I like the under in this game. Aaron Savali, his ERA is above 5.3, but I think you got to look at his ERA at the beginning of the year. It was above 7 for quite some time. He's been able to sharpen up quite a bit now. His last 4 starts, he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in all of those starts. He's striking out a good amount of hitters. He hasn't given up a single home run in that stretch, which is the key for me, as he was struggling really badly with the home run ball at the beginning of the year and throughout his career. But no home runs allowed in his last 4. That's impressive for Savali. I think he pitches well here at a pitcher-friendly ballpark. And on the other side, the Guardians are facing yet again another lefty in Robbie Ray. The Guardians overall this season, not the best numbers against lefties. And Robbie Ray at home, a 2.69 ERA this season. He's been struggling with the home run ball at times this year, and that's kind of been the case for Ray throughout his career. 24 home runs already allowed this season, but I still think he gives the Mariners about 6-7 sharp innings. I lean toward the Guardians here on the money line. I think we're going to be getting a good price here with Cleveland, but I like the under in this game overall. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Oakland Athletics. Zach Lowe going for Oakland. No official starter for the Yanks, so we'll have to wait and see what the line's going to be as well. But I like the Yankees here on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Zach Lowe, an ERA above 6 this season. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 3, and that includes a start against the Miami Marlins, who we know do not hit lefties at all. His last 4 games, the Oakland A's have lost all 4 of those games and by more than 1 run. So I don't like his chances here against the Yankees lineup that's got one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball against lefties in the last month, one of the higher walk rates, 5th highest in baseball, team OPS, 5th highest in the league at 830, 3rd highest isolated power total against lefties. So I don't trust Logue at all here. Give me the New York Yankees on the run line. And in our final game of the night, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Atlanta Braves in your Sunday Night Baseball contest on ESPN. Jake Odorizzi and Adam Wainwright are the starters. Adam Wainwright has been pitching so well at home this year at Busch Stadium, where his ERA is well below 3 overall, 2.11 ERA at home through his 85 1/3 innings pitched. He's got 75 strikeouts with a 218 opponent's batting average, only given up 5 home runs at home in those innings. Very impressive numbers. While Jake Odorizzi, although he pitched very well his last start against the Pirates, who hasn't pitched very well against the Pirates these days? I mean, in his previous starts with the Braves, they weren't great. He's still given up plenty of home runs, 5 home runs in his last 3 starts. I don't think he's going to be able to earn those strikeouts like he did in that Pittsburgh game against this Cardinals lineup. They do a great job at limiting strikeouts at the plate against righties, against lefties. And although certain pitchers will be able to miss some bats, guys like Spencer Strider did at the beginning of the series, Jake Odorizzi's stuff is not as good this year as it was earlier in his career. So I think the Cardinals get to him for a few runs here. Give me the St. Louis Cardinals on the money line to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday, August 28th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.